Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The opinions of hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the opinion of this network.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelly Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelly Robertson.
Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio. With me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And tonight in the virtual studio, I have none other than my show producer, Kat Hobson, who is also my very good friend. Tonight, we will be talking about UFOlogy because she is so knowledgeable on the subject. Well, good evening, Kat. How you doing?
Hey, Shelly, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are the person to have for this topic. I'm telling you what.
You know I love it, right?
Yes, and if I have questions, you have answers.
Usually. If not, I can find them usually.
Yes, I've had experiences and I've seen strange things, and even though it's considered to be part of the paranormal, supernatural, I am not as versed as I should be on this. So I welcome the topic because I can always use more knowledge, right?
Well, can't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter the topic. I'm always trying to find more answers.
Right. And it's when we talk about UFOs and we talk about aliens and we talk about this whole topic, there is just so much information. And it dates back. I mean, there is... When you go back, you can go back to Egypt, and they have drawings in some of the pyramids, the hieroglyphics. They are saying are spaceships and alien forms, and so it could be very well back. I don't even know how far, but a very long time.
Well, they're biblical.
Yes.
I mean, Ezekiel was taken away in a flaming, spinning chariot. Right?
Yeah.
So, that probably wasn't just your everyday thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what do we suppose that was?
well, it wasn't a wagon wheel.
Right.
So, but it really is fascinating to me that even, for about 10 years now, I have been able to participate in different conferences, UFO conferences, Contact in the Desert as media. I was at the first 2 alien cons as media.
Oh, yes.
I got to talk to people that I didn't even have the knowledge to know who they were initially. I'd read books by some of these people. I think probably the most interesting person, just based on reputation, was Eric von Däniken, the guy that wrote Chariot of the Gods. And people don't know that book title has a question mark at the end. right? It's a question. Are these chariots of the gods?
Right.
And I think that that's really a big deal, because nobody has come out and said these are gods. And a lot of people, the Egyptians depicted them kind of as such, right?
Right. And you see that in the drawings.
Yes. And they were very limber in the drawings too.
Well, and yes, and those stick out in my mind because they are pretty detailed and they are pretty fascinating. I mean, when you look at them and you compare them to what people describe of seeing today, it's very similar. It's very similar.
And, a lot of the various, not just the craft, I mean, a laptop bag.
Yeah.
A tricorder like Roddenberry put in Star Trek.
Right.
There's so much, and these same things in various forms are depicted in the Aztec pyramids.
Right.
And
right.
It's a global sensation. People are like, oh, well, it's just, ancient Egyptians and this, that, and the other. And it's global. Yeah, my daughter.
I mean, if they hadn't seen that, okay, how would it look like what many of us have seen today?
Well, touche. Right?
Yes, right. Right.
Phyllis Galdi, who is the editor and owner of Fate magazine, interviewed Zechariah Sitchin, the guy who found the cuneiform that was on the pyramids and translated it, and it related to this topic. And that interview is available on YouTube, and I would really suggest anybody that's interested in Sitchin and his work, go and listen to Phyllis interview him. She was brilliant. But there have been so many people with so many weird things. I've talked to people who were abducted. I've talked to people who can't admit that they were, although their experience is very similar to people that were. There's just so much out there. And, it's the craft, the different beings. There's, if you skywatch, you see them.
Oh,
and
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It's just really
a lot of strange things.
There are a lot of strange things. And I have software on my phone and my tablet that if it's a satellite, unless it's like a secret government satellite, right?
Right.
But it's usually pretty accurate, and you can tell satellites because they move so smoothly. There's no variation in direction. There's no variation in speed. A good example of that is, and a very brilliant one to see, because there's no doubt, is the space station while it's still up there.
Yes.
But, I have seen what looked like two space stations running in tandem before. That was not satellites. And I was very excited because I thought that I was finally seeing Starlink, right? And then I saw Starlink with all like 27 satellites running together. It looks like a freight train. And it wasn't even close. The speed wasn't right. The light coming from it wasn't light. It wasn't right. So if you look, you'll see them. Even if you live in a city that has light pollution.
Yeah, but it is harder in the city. I will tell you that, because
it is. I live in Birmingham, so yeah, it is.
It gets harder as I get to where I'm at, live in Indianapolis, than it is where I came from, where I grew up at. It gets harder to see them. It's harder to see just stars in the city.
Oh,
even.
yeah.
It's even just harder just to see stars. But years ago, I've seen some weird things. I've had some weird things happen. And for a while, I traveled with a telescope in my car.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I absolutely did. Because when I saw things, then I wanted to get a good look. You know
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I would pull that car over and pop that thing out alongside of the road. I did not care because it made me a little hyper aware and obsessive.
Well, you know, I don't know. Were you going to talk about your experience?
Well, I
Because that would
mean,
explain to people why you're hyper aware, why you're so definitive in your fascination and want to know about this.
well, I mean, there's been a few instances where I've seen them. I've seen them. My children was with me and seen a craft. Um, I was traveling home from work one night, and was in my 20s when all this happened, and now I'm in my 50s. Okay, so it's been a long time. But I was on my way home from work one night, and I had 2 hours of missing time. Drove the same route every night for years. And the next thing I know, I'm on a different road. It's 2 hours later. And for a moment, I'm like, where am I? And then I was like a country mile over on another road. And then I had this weird spot on my shoulder blade that looked like, you know, the old time, it was the shape of the old time vaccinations that people got
I
on their
do.
arms. It left a scar that looks like that as well. It's on my right shoulder blade, but it was black.
Oh,
Um, it was like this flesh was dead. Um, I went to the doctor. They didn't know what was wrong with it. I lost a whole lot of weight. I They did all kinds of tests. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They even back then, and this has been a long time ago, okay, like 30 years, right? They tested me for AIDS. They tested me for everything because they're like, we don't know what's wrong. And they're like, are you on a diet? I'm like, no, I am not on a diet. I'm I was looking really bad, feeling really poorly, and this thing on my back, like it, and it's like just like a vaccination spot. Um, and it
did they do
happened.
any radiation testing?
They did not. Um, but I was like, it's like the skin ended up being like really thickened and like it was dead. Like I told him, I'm like, there's no feeling right there, and I could stick a needle in it like really pretty deep. And it
Wow.
was, I can't even, the doctors didn't even know what was wrong with me. No tests come back with anything. And then it was probably, I lost so much weight. I was looking skeletal and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. And then one day I woke up and I felt fine. My back healed and my weight popped back on within a couple of weeks. And voila. And now I just have a scar right there. But it was like I was being followed for a long time. You could see them. And there would be like, there was, sometimes there was like triangular shaped crafts.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those?
I have.
There was
And
some
they're
of the,
actually very involved in abductions. The
yeah,
triangles are.
yes. And I saw them all the time. And I was driving from Van Wert to Fort Wayne one night, and those come just flying. I mean, they were so fast. It was the fastest thing I'd ever saw come from the sky to the field, and they were just above the trees. My kids were with me, and they're like, what was that? And it was near a rest area. So I pull over, to look at them, and they are just hovering at the treetops. And there was 2 of them. And I'm like, I don't even know what to think about that. And then they shot off. It was so fast too. And they were gone, up in the sky. But I felt like, because I saw the crafts a lot. And so then I started carrying my telescope.
Mm-hmm.
So I could watch them when I saw them in the sky. So I could watch them, because some of them weren't triangles. Some of them were round. But I sound like I'm totally crazy.
No, I mean, you do not sound totally crazy, because I have talked to so many people who are rational. I mean, I've talked to accountants, I've talked to military employees, I've talked to scientists, I've talked to authors, I've talked to just the average person. And it's funny, because when people find out what I do, I get stories.
Well, and it was so weird, because I lived in Fort Wayne at the time, and my kids were living in Van Wert. So we were on our way to Fort Wayne. And then one night I took my kids to their father's house, and I'm on my way back to Fort Wayne, and I see this craft. It's following me again. So
what kind was that one?
This one was different looking. It was dark. It looked really large. And it looked like kind of black. I don't know if you've ever seen one that looked like that. But I told my husband, I get home and I said, there's another one. I think it's followed me. So we go out in the yard, and I take the telescope out in the yard, and I'm looking for it, because it followed me almost to the street up in the sky. And it came down. There was a field next to our neighborhood. This thing was quiet. It made no noise. Mm-hmm. It was huge, and it came down into the field next to us. He saw it. He says, I don't know what you're doing, but I am having nothing to do with this. I mean, it scared him, and he was like,
they are scary. I mean, because you have no control.
It was huge. It made no noise, and it looked like it was a gunmetal color, mm-hmm. dark gray. And he thought that I was, I don't know, doing something.
You were calling them to you, right?
Yes. And he's like, we are through if you're doing something. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm not having no part of that. Yeah, he was actually afraid. And I'm like, look, I am just as concerned as you are. Why do you think I'm looking? Why do you think I'm watching?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what this is anymore.
And why do you think I asked, I told you about this, protect me? I mean,
right.
I mean, you're not trying to, I would have been looking for protection.
But the missing time, and there was 2 instances of that. And one of them was at night on my way home from work, and one was during the day. We were on our way to a family barbecue, or a friend of the family's barbecue. And I had my kids with me. We saw a flash of light hit my car, and boosh, then we're missing time. We are put back on the same road, but not where the flash of light was. We saw the craft above the trees. It was round. This one was round. And when we saw it, my son says, pull over, let's check it out. Because he was just, a crazy little boy, right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm not pulling over. And then we saw the flash of light hit the front of my car, and boosh. The next thing we know, we're late for the bar. I'm on the same road, but we're way late for the barbecue when we would have been early. Missing time. We no longer see the craft or anything. And then the kids, they weren't so sure they even saw it. You know what I mean?
I do.
I'm like, oh my God.
That also is not unusual.
Yeah.
There's a lot of instances of memory wipes.
Yeah, they weren't even so sure they saw it then. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we get to where we're going, and they're like, oh my God, what took you so long? Because I had called them before we left the house, and I'm like, you're not going to believe this.
Did you tell them?
Yes. And they're just like, didn't know what to say. They just thought, it's just me being late, dragging my feet. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, seriously.
Well, I know one thing. You're not going to be late for barbecue.
Right.
I wouldn't either.
So this things were following me around for some time. Like, I would say, Kat, a few years. Now, since I moved to Indy, I haven't noticed them.
I think Fort Wayne is a metro area. Indy is such a big metro area.
Yes.
That I don't think that they're really that fussed about being seen in those places because they blend with the other craft.
Yeah.
Our stuff.
I haven't noticed them here. But then again, there's a lot of pollution. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of everything here. So,
and a much busier airport.
There is. And I've been here now for 20 years. So, and I have not had any missing time here either.
It's really interesting because I know that you are often driving alone.
Yes.
And I have driven those roads that you drive from Indy to the jail.
And we're going to have to take this short break.
Okay.
And so you guys are going to want to stay tuned because I know she's got something interesting to say. And you are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Kat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field. covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And tonight in the virtual studio, I have Kat Hobson with me. And we are talking about UFOs and aliens and all the good stuff. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can download the full show archive and listen to it at your leisure on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and many other platforms, whatever you're subscribed to or signed up for. I'm sure we're probably there. And we have Lori Dorsey in chat. Hi, Lori.
Hello.
And anybody can join us, Ghost Talk Radio, on the Spreaker chat. That's where we're hanging out tonight. And she had made a comment in there, and she said that she saw those white, triangles hovering around the large greenhouses close to Wapak. And Wapak, Ohio is where we're talking about. That Wapak is short for Wapakoneta, if those of you are not familiar with the area. That's Wapakoneta, Ohio. And which I will tell you, it's funny that she says that, because my missing time, I used to work at a steel factory in Wapakoneta, and the very first time, the missing time that I told you guys about, I was driving home from there to Ohio City where I lived, and it's like a 45-minute drive. And that's where I got my missing time experience, driving from Wapakoneta. So that is very interesting that Lori also says she saw them hovering there close to Wapak, and I hadn't even mentioned that, where I had the missing time at.
Well, I mean, ever. I've never heard you say where you were.
Right. I was coming from Wapak going to Ohio City. Yeah. And I drove that route for quite a few years. Same route every night. I'd get off work. I worked second shift and drive that route every single night. And I could... Wow. So that is very interesting. But so we talked about that maybe, Kat, had a notion that maybe it's a patrol area, right?
Well, I mean, you have lost time.
Yes.
Lori, who I know, to be honest, as the day is long, had a sighting there. That's near Wright Pat, right? Is it? Which is known for involvement in craft retrieval. So, because we do have crashed unidentified craft.
Right.
And we also have biologics, which are non-human. And the day that all of this stuff was coming forward and it's being reported on, I had heard Gresh talk at the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies conference that I had attended. And so all of this stuff is coming forward, and I am in the process of leaving Contact in the Desert, which is the UFO conference that I had been attending. I mean, Dolan was there, Paul Hynek was there, everybody just fascinating people. Mark D'Antonio, people that I know that have a vested history. Hynek, for God's sakes, is J. Allen Hynek's son.
And what month was that?
That would have been June.
June. Okay, yeah.
And so it's the same day. I was packing. I was getting ready to go. I saw a headline across my iPad on my news thing, but I didn't have time to stop and read it because I was having to get down to my car. And so I go down to the lobby. I've sent my stuff down ahead of me. And Cheryl Costa is there. She says, "What do you think about the news?" And I'm like, "What news?" And so I'm like, "Oh my God, I never read that article." So she's telling me, and I'm like, "I can't be in the air all day. This is huge. I cannot travel today."
Right.
And so it was so funny because, I called my friend Chase Klasky, and I'm like, "Chase, I can't believe this. Talk to me." Because she is one of the original ufologists in this country. People don't give her the credit that she is due, but she has been feet on the ground. She has been in South America looking, she did the forensic testing on the elongated skulls in Peru.
Oh.
She is brilliant. And so I'm calling her going, "Please talk to me." Yeah. I can't believe this is my travel day.
Right.
And so we talked for a while, and, I got her input. Her husband is a retired military commander, and, he has great insight too. And, he doesn't talk about anything that he shouldn't ever, because there's a reason they trusted him with all those great big submarines. But, because he is probably the most trustworthy person I know in the military. But it just is so astounding to me that this was happening.
Wow.
And then I was watching these hearings later, and Nancy Mace is like, "So do we have craft?" And he was like, "We do." And never ask a question you don't know the answer to, right?
Right.
So she says, "Do we have, are there biologics?" And he said, "There are biologics." And he said, "Are they human?" He said, "They are not human." And her face looked like, whoa.
Oh my.
And so I'm sitting there listening to that going, whoa. And it was so fascinating because we've talked about Roswell, right?
Right.
Everybody knows about Roswell. Crash, things taken by the government.
Uh-huh.
And reports always have been including bodies. Right. Jacques Vallée wrote a book with a co-author about, it's called Trinity, and that is about a crash prior to Roswell. Also with biologics. Okay? So Roswell was not the initial crash that the government was involved in, and there was physical evidence of the crash at Trinity because they knew something had happened, because one of the communication lines to the base was on a pole, and the craft clipped the pole coming in and took the wires down. And that was before Roswell. That was primitive communications anyway. So, and there were boys who saw the craft inhabitants outside, obviously hurt. One looked dead. These boys were just out riding horses. They had been, they weren't out there just because of that. They were later. But, there's some pretty credible stories and history behind this. So when flashback to 2022, I think it was 2022, might have been 3. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at that. But anyway, so we're in Congress talking about alien bodies.
Right.
And yes, ma'am, we do have them. And it's just like, wow. And I was so impressed because the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies is based out of Huntsville, Alabama. It is made up of rocket scientists, truly. Travis Taylor, who is a multiple PhD holder. He is a brilliant physicist. He is an engineer. He is the guy that hollers shotgun on getting into the trucks on, Skinwalker Ranch. He's a brilliant man. And he's not out there doing that stuff for fame and glory. Although I'm sure he has one heck of a time with those rockets.
Yeah,
But he is the guy who was part of the program that Lou Alessandro came out of. He was their chief science officer. And I didn't know that when I first started listening to him. I asked him if he worked for the government or if he worked for the company that was, doing the shows that he was doing. And I insulted him without meaning to.
Right.
I just asked if he was disinformation or, disclosure.
Right.
And he didn't answer me.
Well, right. And that was the time you probably felt like putting your foot in your mouth when you figured it out, right?
Well, when I saw him the next time, I said, I'm sorry I put you on the spot, but, to ask you a question, I had to stand at a microphone. I had a question.
Right.
And he just kind of looked at me. I said, you never answered me.
But, I mean,
so,
we don't always know. And what I'm glad about is I got questions. I can run them by you.
Well, and if I don't know the answer, I'll generally try to find it,
way, I can have all of that taken care of first.
But I do want to clarify here that Travis Taylor is a patriot. And the reason that he got so offended was that he felt like I was suggesting that he had violated his oath to his country or something. And I am going to say right here that he would not. This is somebody who has served this country in so many obvious capacities, and I really believe there are others that he can't talk about. He's one of the smartest men walking, and just because he sounds like me doesn't mean he's not a freaking genius.
Right.
I think he probably is the smartest man in a lot of the rooms he walks into. But I think a lot of his friends think they are too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I just wanted to clarify that because I rib him a lot when I talk about him, but the man is a walking genius. He is full-blown military. He is just a rocket scientist. And he knows things.
Well,
and he's trying to get answers for them.
And, those are the perfect people that's going to know. You've got I think a lot of the astronauts, the NASA people, I think a lot of them know.
They do.
You know?
I agree with that.
Yeah. How could they not?
Well,
that's my logic. How could they not?
The astronauts know.
Oh, of course. I'm sure they do.
There has been televised footage. If you watch the NASA channel and you get to see the space station, and there have been times that something looked like it was docking with the space station and the live feed dies. But there are people that record that 24/7 and post what they catch. And
so they shut it down so we all can't see it. Is that what happens?
That's what I understand.
Wow.
And it's interesting because there will be things that look like there's nothing to them.
Uh-huh.
And as they start getting closer to the space station, the feed dies.
So we can't get a good look.
Yeah. And I don't know why the government is so afraid of the people.
Well, look, if I think we'd be better off if the people were informed.
Well, because I agree with that. And, I think it would be better to go ahead and say, there's stuff, we don't know what it is. We do communicate with these people.
But don't poke the bear.
And I think that would stop, because they're afraid that we're going to, go all War of the World. Because I really think that Orson Welles' radio broadcast, War of the Worlds, was like a trial run, right?
Yeah.
And we failed miserably.
Right.
Okay, people died. People killed themselves. They leapt out of buildings. Okay? And I think that is the reason that the government feels justified in hiding this information from us.
But we've been like living with it in the background as a maybe it's real, maybe it's not real, like a conspiracy theory or something like that for such a long time. I really think that if they were to put it out there as true, I think today the people could handle it.
Well, let me ask you this. We have got militias. We have got gangs running rampant. They're better armed than a lot of our military units. Okay,
that's true. That's true.
We've got people who are ruthless, couldn't care less about society, have no interest in being part of a, air quotes, normal society, whatever. We've got people living nomadic lives in the desert still in, African and Asian countries. We've got evangelists that'll say it's the, second coming, it's demonic, it's whatever. Would you want to tell those people that we've got something coming here, we're not real sure what it is, we don't know how to control it, and they show up when they want to, and they take people? What do you think's going to happen? That's going to be a shooting war.
I mean, first of all, we do have a break, but I do have thought about that. And when we come back from this break, I'll give you my thought on it.
Cool beans.
You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to UFOlogy to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And tonight I have the lovely and talented Kat Hobson in the virtual studio with me. And if you missed the first two halves of the show, quarters of the show, thirds of the show, you can, listen to the full show archive at your leisure on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. And so we're talking about UFOs and the aliens. And prior to the break, we were talking about the government not telling the people. And I thought that maybe they should. And Kat says that there's probably reasons they don't.
Well, I think they're afraid to.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you have been lying to all the people that pay your salary, and all of the people that have this information are paid for by us.
Yes.
Okay? And, you put out the radio show War of the Worlds, and the world went mad. People died. They jumped out of buildings. They jumped off roofs. They were, it was horrible. Well, then, you actually wanted to know how people would react, and that's what you got.
Well, and so then we say, okay. And then I said something about, times went on, la, la, la. We've had this in the backs of our minds, and it's been talked about and everything for years and years and years. And I felt that. I thought, well, if they were just to come out with it and admit that it's real and all of this and just tell us, I think the people would be accepting. And then Kat's talking about all the different militias and gangs and all of this that might be gung-ho and go hunting,
Well, especially in the South.
Right.
Also...
And they could go hunting for the aliens, or they could go hunting for...
the experience.
And they could also turn on the government. But here's the thing. Now, I think we would probably already have... I think the aliens are slick, okay? Because they're kind of secretive, I would think. I think more and more and more over the time, more and more people would know for certain. It would be factual. It would be, more factual. There would be so many videos and recordings, and it would be commonplace. So I think they're really slick.
They are. But, something else, too, is that it's not just the government lying to us. It's
I
also
think the government is afraid of them as well, the aliens.
I would agree with that. They can't control them. They have nothing. Do you really think our technology made all these leaps this fast?
No, and I think the government, if it boils down to the nitty-gritty, they wouldn't be telling us. First of all, they can't control us if they tell us. There's too many of us and too little of them. So if they can't control what we do and they're afraid of them, you see?
Well, and
if we go sideways on the government, and it upsets our alien friends, you see what I mean? So,
well, but the people that we do know about who have had interactions with them that have made, the public eye, Travis Walton. That was a horrible experience. Although I feel like, and I think he does too now, that they saved him. That he got in the backwash as they were taking off. They can't leave a dead human. They took him with them. They fixed him. They brought him back. And
Funny thing is that you say that kind of stuff. Funny thing is, like, on my missing time, I have no recollection at all of seeing absolutely no one. It's just, I was in this spot at this time, and then in this spot.
You have not had regression therapy either.
No, I have not. So it was
Would
like,
you have that?
I would be open to it. It's almost the same thing as if you blinked your eyes. You're here, and you opened your eyes, and you're over there, and it's 2 hours later. That's what it's like for me.
Right.
I know nothing in between. Nothing. So, isn't that strange?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like that afternoon that I had that one over my gazebo. I was on the phone with my daughter, and this really funky colored cloud came up, and this came out of the cloud, just the front of it. And I'm like, I'm in a hammock, right? I'm chilling, talking to my kid, and I'm looking at that going, this is so weird. And the first thing I said to Allie was, don't hang up. Okay. No matter what happens, do not hang up. I'm having something go on here. This is what it is. And I don't want a missing time experience. And if I have one, I want somebody who can document it.
So what happened?
It came out of the cloud. It was a very strange colored cloud. It was like a greenish yellow. And it was a big cloud. Right? But it was a by itself cloud. And it came across, and I have a very, tree-filled area. And it came across, and there was a Japanese maple behind my gazebo, and it's over the top of both of those. And it stopped. And this metallic, and I swear to goodness, it's so cliche, it looked like an upside down pie pen, like the little lip thing.
I know what you're talking about.
And it comes out of the cloud. And I'm like, are they looking at me? Are they just letting me see them? I did not see any being. It had like what would have been a window was a panel across it. And I'm just like, say hey to the aliens, whatever. And it sat there, and I'm talking to Alyssa the whole time. And it pulls back into the cloud, and it just moves on, and the cloud dissipates. And there's nothing there.
You didn't have no missing time that time.
No, I did not, because I made sure that she knew what was happening. And if I'm not responding to you, write it down. But I felt confident that if I was on the phone with somebody, I mean, they're not stupid. I'm sure they can hear our conversations. So, I'm like, nope. No missing time. Not going to happen.
Right.
But I also was not going to get up and run away from them either. I mean, I thought that would be a bad idea too.
I think they just look at that as a game and just come chase you down.
Yeah, I think it was like chicken.
And
I was too chicken to move. So I wasn't being obstinate. I just didn't really want to find out what would happen. Because, if you run from a mean dog, it'll chase you. So
right.
I did not want to have that experience. And I know that sounds crazy, but it was just like let's check this out, and
look, I'm going to tell you, if you and your whole entire car can have missing time, you are not going to run and get away from it. You are not.
Nope. I mean, seriously, that is a big nope.
they are going to take you. Running isn't going to do you no good.
Absolutely not. But I don't think that if they took you, you would remember the fear unless you were regressed. And I know people who have gone through the regression therapy.
Uh-huh.
And it's pitiful. I mean, it really is. And I would not want that.
I mean, I kind of want to know what happened to my time.
Well, I wouldn't say don't do it, but I heard portions of the Betty and Barney Hill regression.
Uh-huh.
Under hypnosis. And I would not listen to it again.
Yeah.
It was so upsetting for them. And especially for him. And, you know, an interesting thing, though, is my understanding is that she was not disrobed because they couldn't work a zipper. I find that fascinating.
Well, good for her.
So, you know, to me, that strikes me as just weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing's weird. I mean, the whole thing is weird. But that was truly.
They didn't know how to do the old school technology.
No.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's one of those wacky doodle things.
So I guess, folks, I mean, we could talk all night on these UFOs. They're so fascinating, but I do have to make a mention of something. In the world of Bigfoot. Okay. They have had some recent sightings of Bigfoot. And this has been close to 6 days ago.
Right.
And they said that all these sightings that they've been coming across have been just impossible to explain away. Okay? And these are animal experts are saying this. Now, I gotta tell you, I have never seen the Bigfoot. But
have you seen images?
I mean, I have seen people that posted stuff, okay? And some of them look like, maybe it's possible. Some of them look like they could be fake. But there is some that could be something. I'm not going to beat everyone up because they could be possible. But I have to be fair. I got to be fair to all the people who, I cannot say the Bigfoot is not real. I can't say it because here's the thing. I have not been tromping around out in the wilderness that much.
I'm going to tell you that you don't have to be in a wilderness area.
I believe that. I do.
Because we have built
too.
out into their habitats.
That's true. That's
and
true.
I have seen a video taken by someone I know as they were walking out of the woods. They are a Bigfoot investigator. They're not a Bigfoot hunter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he always puts his camera on his shoulder as he's walking out. He always films himself walking out. And I saw what looked like a juvenile Bigfoot. After the guy got down the path a bit, this creature just stood up and turned around and walked away. It had been squatting beside a tree. And
oh my gosh.
That was what I said. And that is fairly close to me, to where I live. So that area of our state has a lot of different things. It also has UFO activity. Very many anomalous experiences reported there. But it's wicked cool.
Okay, so This people, there's these zoological people. Zoological people and some scientists, they are saying that they are pretty sure that they have demonstrated a close correlation between the Bigfoot sightings and the black bear population. They're not saying they're the same, but they're living in some of the same areas. Mm-hmm. But doesn't that make sense, though? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Would you, if you knew that there was an area inhabited by Bigfoot, would you go and see if you could find one?
I would dress in camouflage, and I would dress in those listen, I would not, because you don't know how Bigfoot's going to react when it sees you. So I would wear those, sometimes.
A ghillie suit?
Yes, yes.
Do you not think he would smell you?
Well, I would have to I would have to disguise somehow. I would do some research.
You would put deer pee on you, wouldn't you?
Something. I would put something that would disguise me, but you don't know. Is a Bigfoot, does he eat deer? You don't know. So I
think he is carnivorous.
Yeah, so he might be that. So I would probably put some kind of scent of a pungent plant or something on me that you would think most animals don't like. You know what I mean? I don't think
you'd wind up with a rash.
It'd be better than being lunch.
That's true. I don't have any interest in being lunch either.
Because you don't know. You don't know how they would react. First of all, if they have young, anything is going to defend that.
That's true.
You don't know that. So if they got babies, a baby, you're looking for trouble. All right. So, and so I would want to be well hidden and well scent covered.
So basically, you're not going in the woods because you can't hide from a Bigfoot. I mean, if anything's in their territory, I think that they know that.
I mean, but I got real powerful. I have real powerful binoculars and stuff. I mean, super powerful. I can get so close. And then we've got the heat ones and all of that. So, I mean, I can still search.
Well, if you come down here, I will get with Jonathan and we can take your binoculars and I will show you where we can walk in.
Well, we can look at. Yeah, because, I mean, it would be exciting, but you just don't know how they would react. And you have all of these groups out just aimlessly. Okay, so you've got the real.
They're not aimlessly.
Wait a minute. Just hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. You've got the real people, the real scientists, the real, zoologists, the real deal, actually trying to study, trying to find them, or have found them. Some of them have found them. Okay. All right, doing their thing. And then you have, what I'm going to say, is your hobbyists.
Yes.
Hundreds of groups of, let's go find us a Bigfoot, tromping through every kind of place, well, willy-nilly. Do you know what I'm saying? You do. You just have it. So, I mean, you just don't know how they're going to react.
Well, I do know that I'm not going in those woods looking for one. Because the one that I saw in that video was a juvenile. Juveniles are reportedly unpredictable.
Right. Just
because
like
they're
our
hormonal
teenagers.
And they're goofy.
Yeah, just like our teenagers. Sure. And I was just like, well, I mean, And that is in every kind of thing. So, I mean, look at it in ghost hunting. Look at it in people trying to go dilly-dally with demons. You name it, and you've got groups that are inexperienced and just out there just running amok, you know?
I do.
I'm
And
going to
it's
say it.
and it is like completely nope.
Right.
Those
right.
are the people that I just sit there and I look at them and I'm like, yep, bait.
Right.
Right?
So,
I mean, don't go poking the bear, you don't go poking the Bigfoot, you don't make faces at the ships in the sky, you don't sit there and go in and taunt a Bigfoot.
but
I mean,
you have it. You have it. And
you
you've
respect what's out there because you know what?
I've seen.
We're human. We're fallible, and we break.
Listen, I've seen a group of ghost hunt or Bigfoot hunters trapping in a woods with torches. Are you serious?
Real torches?
Yeah.
Like fire?
Yes. So listen to me. What do you think is going to happen if they come across a Bigfoot habitat? What do you think is going to happen?
I guess they think that the Bigfoot are afraid of fire. I don't know what they were thinking. That's crazy.
I mean, look. So now you got this one Bigfoot who might have, in a distance, saw this craziness. And so the next people that they see coming into their area, do you see what I mean? And because now they got a baby. They got a baby now.
Oh, I would never.
So.
Never.
Look.
Do that.
But there is all kinds out there just willy-nilly doing their thing that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Well, I'm going to tell you that Jonathan, the gentleman I told you about with the camera on his shoulder, he was out in that area, okay? And I don't know if they were camping or what, but they heard somebody screaming for help, right?
Yeah.
And it sounded like they were just being carried away, like the voice was getting farther away from them as it was screaming. And then it stopped. And, like it was moving quickly away from them, like it was being drugged, like whoever it was being drugged. And, I mean, they reported it. They got the Rangers on the phone and they were like, this just happened. And, they left the woods. I would have left the woods and then called the Rangers, but that's just me.
Right.
But I mean, it could have been a big cat. It could have been a Bigfoot. It could have been any number of things. But
it could have been the local serial killer.
Yeah, it could. And, I know people that go in the woods alone.
I don't think that's such a good idea.
I think it's a hideous idea.
You just don't know what.
It's an absolutely ridiculous idea.
I mean, even a bear. You even come across a bear.
Or coyotes or
a pack of coyotes.
Boar.
Yeah, you're going to
or
be
boar.
Lunch.
Boar are dangerous.
Yeah, you're going to be lunch.
And you're going to be lunch. And if it's the boars that are out there, especially if they have young, it's going to be a hideous death. I mean, it's going to be so, so bad. And that's why my idea of camping out is the Holiday Inn. And it's roughing it when they don't put my turn down treat on the pillow.
Right. So friends and listeners out there, didn't we want to make you go camping? Now we're talking about wild boars that will eat you. Bigfoot that will snatch you.
That will drag you off. Can I just say hi to Mikey Thompson in chat?
Yes. Hi, Mikey.
Hey, Mikey. Hey, boy, hey.
Yes, and we got to get together with your schedule, Mikey, so we can get you to the jail.
Yeah, because he's in the area.
Yes, he is, and I will love to see his face. Absolutely.
Good man. He's a good man.
Yes, he is. And you know what? We've been having so much fun. Guess what time it is?
I do see that. Your producer should have cut you off a long time ago.
We went over, but it's so easy to do when we get things rolling.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to thank all of my listening friends out there for taking time out of your busy evenings to listen to this live broadcast. Thank you, Kat, for sharing your UFO knowledge with me and everyone tonight. Oh my gosh. I mean, who's best to talk about this? And that way I can do it without feeling totally dumb, because you will not, make me feel that way.
You're not dumb about anything. You are one of the best researchers I know on anything that strikes your fancy.
Oh, thanks. And with that, friends, I am going to have to say, have a good evening and a sweet rest of your week. And I won't talk to you again until after Valentine's Day. So have a great, sweetest day. And good night, friends.
Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.